Good morning, everybody. It's the pollinator. And Happy New Year, 2022. Man, I swear that 2021 is a year to remember. Absolutely is. And, I don't know what the name of this video is. And it occurred to me that, if I went live or I made videos on a more consistent basis, I could get my viewership up again. But I still haven't decided what I'm going to do with that. But the title of this video, I'm not sure what to call it because I'm getting a cross-section of racism and oppression from the larger community that isn't LGBTQ plus, and I'm seeing it in the LGBTQ plus communities around the world. Well, and I'm going to focus on in this country because I really don't know about those organizations in other countries. But listen, it is so, racism has become, I want to say innocuous. I don't think that's the right word, but it's become such a underground kind of operation coming out of certain sectors of our community that you can't put your finger on it. You can't even force people to be honest about why they're coming across to certain people the way that they are, why they come across to me the way that they do. By the way, I'm going to have to work real hard to get rid of these shadows behind me. I'm not even sure about what kind of lighting I'd need to get rid of those shadows, but I think there's going to be a way when I edit this video to be able to get rid of them. So I won't publish it until I've gotten rid of those. There's shadows in the green screen, but they pop up as smudges when I stick a video to it. Anyway, let me get back on this topic. I was recently in a trans group that isn't on social media. It was actually on some kind of server called Discord, and I was in there for a little while before I just stopped communicating. And it was a group for a particular business, and I may or may not reveal the name of that business. Yeah, for now I won't reveal the name of that business. But listen, I made a simple 2-sentence paragraph that triggered the hell out of everybody in there. Well, first it was this one guy, and because I did not cow down to these people, because I accused them of being trigger happy, because I do not think it's right to normalize that word, because it's happening all over the world. This being okay to be triggered by everything. I had the other day I was with a friend during the holidays, and we were with a couple of ladies, and one of them said that they think that's a good thing. I said, why do you think that? Why do you think being triggered so easily is a good thing? And you know what? She didn't have an answer for that. It's not a fucking good thing. It's a cupcake snowflake response. Immature, childish response to something, to hearing something you don't want to hear, or something you didn't like, or whatever. It's shooting the messenger instead of the message. Lost on Society is been the ability to debate instead of argue. The ability to have a conversation to where both parties, you may not agree with somebody, but at least you can have a conversation about the disagreement and not make anybody wrong. You know, if there's anything I've been able to take away from my transition as I stepped into my manhood instead of being afraid of it. And listen, that's one of my biggest complaints about the transgender masculine side of being trans, is that they transition physically, change everything about their appearance, have surgeries, and then stop growing. Not even step into what it is that they saw in the beginning, which is that they were a man. Being a man in society right now is almost like a no-no, except there's a pushback coming from men that are saying, oh no, we're not going to be fucking silenced because you want to turn men into women. So this is the last part of transition, really, that I saw. Even after, you know, I saw it at the same time before I actually had the desire to have surgeries. Because I didn't in the beginning. I didn't see anything wrong with my body. And it wasn't until time started passing that certain things were catalysts to me understanding I needed to change not only my mentality and my emotions and the way that I approach life, but I had to change, then I wanted to change my appearance. But it was a stage, it was a phase for me. It wasn't something that happened all at the same time that I embraced who I am. First I embraced who I am, then I changed my name, and then slowly the desire to do the other things came. The other two surgeries. Even right now, I'm not even sure I'm going to do bottom surgery because of the choices that we have. And the fact that it just got put on the table of VA. But I'm not here to talk about the physical changes of transition. I'm here to talk about the mental changes that seem to be something that trans men don't navigate towards. Because I think they see what's happening in society. They see that women think they run the world. Nah, they don't. It's like, why? And you know what? I see this happen in the trans women community more than I see it happening in the cisgender community. That they've got this chip on their shoulder, and I know where it comes from, and it's not going to be popular for me to say so, but I'm going to say it anyway. It comes from the fact that when they transitioned, they lost male privilege. When we transitioned, we gained it, and none of us transitioned for that reason. It's just something that happens, then after it happens, you realize, oh shit, this is there, and it wasn't there before. And so there's this mad struggle with them to maintain their dominance that they had when society and the world thought that they were men, and their socialization as men. And they lost that privilege, and in order to make it look like they still have it, they evaluate, they overstate that they're still running things. Well, yeah, they're still running things from their male privilege. That's where they got the drive. That's where they got the ambition. That's where they got all of their kudos, being raised as men. And then as adults, realized that they were transgender women. But they pull all of those influences with them. And they too don't necessarily re-socialize as women. I saw early on, you could see in some of my earlier videos, which I have started going back through, you can see, you can hear where I am talking about manhood quite a bit in and out of my videos, where I began grappling with it early on and realized that that was just as important as the physical changes that I was going through. Testosterone naturally throws you into something different. Your thoughts change, your mentality changes, your emotions change. And if you're not trying to own everything about yourself, then it'll slip right past you that you need to re-socialize yourself from female to male and stop acting like females. That is not a popular thing to say these days, or I don't know if it's these days or ever, because they don't, especially white men, white trans men, they don't want to be told they're acting like, they don't want to be told anything. They don't want to be challenged. It's like they grab this white male privilege thing and run it to its full extent to where you can't tell them shit, or they end up in a snit and end up really bitchy about it and don't even own that that's what they're being. So here's what happened. I was in this group and I said, that the way that I wear and order my Packers is to, if I want to feel and think and behave and have everything about me be 100% male, I order my Packers accordingly. In other words, I have a dick imprint because I realized early on that people look there. And so some guy got in his feelings about what I said. And I said something else after that. I should have written it down, but I didn't write it down. So I'm going to put it in the description exactly what I said. Exactly what I said. And then this guy jumps up, and here's the argument going on in the trans community. They want to be inclusive about everything and everybody, from trans trenders to non-binary, gender non-conforming people. They don't like a manly man anywhere near them. To them, so what I said triggered this guy, and that I wasn't being inclusive or I wasn't being something. I don't know. I reacted to him being triggered, not necessarily what he said, because he wouldn't let it go. And he kept going on and on and on, and I became like, look, I was talking about myself. For me to feel that way, I began the sentence with I, so I wasn't talking about you. I did put you in the sentence, but I wasn't talking about anybody else but myself. This one took me to say I'm coming off like I'm talking about how everybody should feel in their transition. I said, I don't care what everybody feels in their transition. I don't care. That is up to each man to define his manhood and define what being a man means to them. And so I wasn't talking about you in particular. If you took this personally, then you're being triggered. And somehow that conversation died, but then all the other triggered motherfuckers came jumping up in that post. And one after the other tried to get me to either alter what I said or apologize for what I said or something. Now these were all white guys. And I was not going to do that. I didn't have anything to apologize for. In my mind, it's like it wasn't such a big deal as they made out of it. But I've seen that argument before, and I even said, you know what, I've seen this before. I know what being trigger happy looks like, and I am not going to normalize being triggered. If you are triggered, then it's your fucking problem. You need to deal with it. By the same token that I used to talk about everybody blaming things on being dysphoric. My Packer doesn't stick, so I'm dysphoric. Or just blaming things instead of owning who you are and what you think and how you feel and all those other things. They want to throw it on another word that is outside of their control. Now, yes, dysphoria exists, but not to the degree that people use it or misuse it or manipulate with it. And that's what I see these guys doing. And so they acted like crabs in a barrel, peas in a pod, one after the other, jumping up, trying to get me to back down. And I began to notice that it wasn't just about what I said. It's a fact of who I am and what I said. And that I refused to bow down to these guys just because they wanted to do a dog pile. So I left, and while I wasn't paying attention to the group, I saw somebody sent something to me. So I got in there and I looked at, saw who they called in, the owner of the business. I used to be associated with this person, this guy. But I didn't know who that was when they were first talking to me. So they called in the big dog to talk to me. And I explained to him that, you know, if people want to do a dog pile, I'm going to get defensive. My walls will go up and I won't give a fuck what they're saying. They shouldn't shoot the messenger. They can shoot the message and talk about the message. It could have been a very interesting conversation if people had jumped in their emotions and gotten trigger happy. Everything I said was right on the money, but you know what? Again, these white guys don't want to be challenged, and they knew who I was. So they thought doing a dog pile was going to get me to stand down, and all it did was make me stand up. I don't give a fuck if they call the president. I'm not going to be moved by a bunch of over emotional men calling themselves men, and a lot of them probably weren't men. Some of them were probably non-binary. Some of them were probably gender non-conforming. I don't know what they were. All I know is that as much as they wanted me to care about their feelings, they weren't caring about mine. And the hypocrisy of that is not going to happen on my watch. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to care more about their feelings than I do my own. So, you know, they want to argue instead of see that there is a issue going on here that needs to be addressed, and that is the spitting upon men and calling it putting it under the umbrella of being inclusive. I said, I am not inclusive of everybody on the planet. I'll be damned. That's not even realistic. So what do they really mean? Everybody on the planet has a certain kind of people that they hang out with or whatever. They're not going to include everybody under the sun in their inner circle. And by the same token, I'm not going to be made to accept a bunch of people that aren't accepting me. So yeah, transgender people can lead the pack on this being triggered business, like the folks on Twitter with their cancel culture. What happens first with them? They get triggered by something, and then they jump dogpile on anybody who doesn't agree with their mentality, their thinking, their ideologies. They want to attack everybody who isn't towing their line. I'm the wrong person for that. I'm just not somebody who you can browbeat into towing the line. I'm too radical. I'm pro-black, which for me means black first. I'm not a hotep black. I'm just somebody who believes that the time has come when we look out for ourselves and stop thinking about everybody else. Because they ain't thinking about us. Only time they think about us is to put us down, put us in our place, kill us, push us around, murder us, oppress us. It's the only time they're thinking about us, and they're not thinking about us in terms of getting out of the dilemma of being oppressed. I read something. Oh, I'm going to read something that somebody said, and I don't remember where. Oh, I do remember where it came from. There was this writer named Michael Harriot on The Root, and he said something so profound that I wrote it down. So, most people don't want equality, okay? They are simply seeking their opportunity to play the oppressor. And as far as I was concerned in that little interaction in that group on, what did I say the website was? Damn, it fell out of my head that fast. Anyway, those people took the opportunity of trying to oppress me. I saw through that. And in 100 years, they're not going to admit to that. They won't admit to that any faster than they will admitting they're racist. And I have been seeing that for 6 years. For 6 years, I have been seeing that my strong manhood way of being. I am a strong male. I am a strong person, period. And the way that I am triggers the hell out of white folks, especially if they're acting out of this wanting to be the oppressor instead of seeking equality across the board in the transgender community. The T is like the LGBTQ plus, white, right, and oppressive to black people. I'm also working with an organization where I'm the only black in the room. And trust me, it makes me nervous because I know at some point somebody's going to say something stupid and I'm just going to jump up like I naturally do and challenge it. I speak truth to power. They don't know it yet. But I speak truth to power, and somebody's going to say something. Well, actually, you know what? Somebody did say something today. Because I was telling them that I kind of stumbled into that group of people, and because I was looking for something else, and before I knew it, they had me involved in, doing some things, and that I was really nervous about being around there. I don't want to be the token black. But I mentioned that, you know what, why aren't there more BIPOC in here? So first I had to explain what BIPOC meant, which is Black, Indigenous, People of Color. I had to explain that first, and then it was crickets. Oh, well, you need to be proactive. I said, I'm not going to recruit for this place. I am not going to recruit black people or BIPOC for this place. It's time for y'all to do that without us having to jump in and then drag our brothers and sisters with us. And there's a reason why, because that group is even smaller than the trans community as a whole. It's a specific special interest group. And I said, I'm not going to recruit for this place. Y'all going to have to do that on your own. I'm barely here myself because I see the dilemma. They don't see it yet, and I haven't really explained that, I don't want them coming to me as the mouthpiece for black people in America for that special interest group. I just don't want to be in that position, be put in that position, and knowing who's in charge and who's in control, which is a bunch of trans women. There's 2 men in the whole organization. I'm one of them. Yikes. So, there's a movie, a lot of people are familiar with the Matrix movies. And I think we're in a matrix, and I see things that way. It's like I see things that are happening. Whether I say them out loud or not, they're still happening. It's like people who don't want to see that racism is still alive and well, and people don't want to see that slavery is still been modernized today, don't want to see that there's a whole group of people that are still oppressed. People who don't want to see that think because they don't see it, it doesn't exist. Yeah, it does. So I see a lot of things, and being the only one in that entire group, of course I'm reluctant to say what I see, because they're all going to jump up like those guys did in that group and try to do a dog pile on me because they disagree or they don't understand what I say. Basically because they disagree. That's the primary thing, is that they disagree, and they want to be right about what they disagree about. I don't make them any more wrong than I expect them to make me wrong. But there is this little dilemma going on of people trying to be right, and they will be right, white and right, if it kills them, if it kills every relationship they ever have, if it kills every movement that there is, especially movement towards equality or rights in this country. They'll try to kill it. So I really came on to say that racism is alive and well, even in the trans community. It's awful. Because they think they're so righteous, and they're not. They're not even thinking about what life would be like for them if they were also a BIPOC. I mentioned that to that group that I'm working with today, that y'all can chuck and jive and smile and laugh and be relaxed about what you're doing, but I am on edge because I am a black man in an organization that ain't got any, doesn't have any. And I've been there before. I haven't been who I am today and been there, but I've been there but many times before. I mean, my career was in computers. There wasn't very many black people around in that field. And oftentimes I was the only one around. And another thing happened is I used to write for Medium. They kicked me off the platform for calling this guy an ass. Now listen, I have been around there kicking ass, kicking butt, taking names, kicking butt, reporting all sorts of white supremacists racists that jumped up and called me the N-word and this and that. And they did not discipline those people. Not that they told me about, because they're not trying to protect us. They're trying to protect these fragile white men. And they thought to micromanage me and be microaggressive towards me because I was putting white men in their place, and they didn't like it. Really. We didn't like them trolls around all the time. All the time. They expected us just to ignore them. Ignore them and block them after they've stirred up shit in our articles. Well, expectations. I'm not politically correct, and I'm not going to do what these people say I should do to become like them. That's like trying to convince men to be women. Trying to convince black people to be white to go along and get along. It's the wrong thing to do. It's just wrong. I don't care who you are. It's wrong. Because some of us aren't going to do that, and we still can be useful within their organizations or groups or whatever. We can still be useful if you get in your place. Don't try to put us in our place. Put yourself in a place and stop trolling. But again, I was talking about these trolls in 2016, 2017, and there's even more of them now. Because the GOP has gotten a hold of this country, and every idiot redneck in this country has jumped out and started to push back, the likes of which we're going to lose our voting rights again. People died for those things, and here we are having to create bills to uphold the Voting Rights Act of 64, I think it was. Why do we have to keep doing that every 4 fucking years? Why? You think these transgender people that are whining about that care about this? Mm-mm. They don't care about anybody but them and them and them and them. Really, they don't give us a second thought. We have to push our issues and agendas up in their face for them to look and see that they're there. Otherwise, they don't think about them. So, I'm going to continue to challenge the status quo. I don't care if I have to do it by myself or do it with a group of people. I'm going to continue to do it. And I'm also at the same time, I think I've mentioned this before, but me and my best friend are the masterminds behind a group that is all about men finding their manhood or developing one for the first time. And you know what? It attracts a good number of trans men because they're looking for a place where they aren't ostracized and demonized and villainized for being men. When has it ever been okay? Why did it become okay to villainize men and try to make them like women so that the women can deal with us better? That's not working. That's causing men to be depressed, suicidal, and all sorts of things because they want men to be women. It's not bad. It's bad enough that a lot of people in the cisgender community think that society is turning men into women through the LGBTQ. No, that's not where it started. That is not what is making men women. Women are trying to make men women into women so that they can deal with them, so that they can control them, so that they can manipulate, so that they can win while losing. They'll lose their men. The men will lose their manhood. Emasculating men is just not what is going to save this planet. It's not. And I know what I'm saying is not going to, this is not popular to tell the fucking truth about anything, especially if it goes against what somebody else thinks is the truth. Fucking truth is relative instead of facts. It's not logical. And this is what I've also learned as I've delved into manhood, is that I have to rely more on my thinking than my emotions. Women rely on their emotions. Men do not. And I can just hear some people as they're watching this video thinking, yeah, but I define my manhood in the way that I define my manhood and nobody should question it and da-da-da-da-da-da. Sorry, but there are guidelines. There are certain things that are understood about being a man that they can't refute. And if they're refuting it, is because they are holding on to their femininity. They don't know how to step into their manhood, so they're scared. And they are going to blow up anybody who tries to challenge that in them. Men come at me, and I don't care if it's 50 men come at me in a bitchy manner. That's what they're doing. I don't care who doesn't like it. I'm going to call them on it. And then sit there and watch them blow up because they're triggered. Trigger happy. I had to learn to stop being that way in my relationships. I had to learn how to stop being that way, period. And don't be calling being triggered passion. It isn't. It's a negative response to something. It's not passion. Passion is a good thing. Passion is what gets people famous. It's what gets people successful. It's what gets things moving. Trigger doesn't get anything moving. It stops everything and makes the person who got triggered right for being triggered. Instead of them dealing with them triggers and getting rid of them, oh no, we got to protect the triggered class. That's basically what that group of guys said. And I was like, really? I'm not the one. I am not the fucking one. One guy got so mad because I said something about being trigger happy. He said, dude, leave. I ain't leaving anywhere. You want to throw me out, throw me out. I ain't leaving because you are triggered. You and you and you and you and you. And of course they all wanted to be right about it. It was like, God damn, y'all, I didn't say much for you to be assuming all these things and adding all these things on top of what I said. I said what I said. And everybody that spoke up added something to what I said. Really. See, they didn't try to get to know me. They didn't try to get to know how literal I am. They didn't even care. All they cared was they saw some words about manhood, being a real man or whatever the fuck I said, and they went off their rocker about it. Sorry, dudes. A bunch of trans men need to get their head out of their ass. Stop coming from female emotions. Stop coming from female mentality. Stop coming from that place and learn what it is to be a man. That is a provider. That is a protector. That is a leader. That is an educator. There's a lot of things that define manhood. It isn't just all about you looking like one. It's about you acting like one. Duh. That's what I wanted to say, was like, okay, y'all are not, you are acting out of your female socialization, and it's time for a lot of manhood, a lot of trans men to learn what it is to become a man. Anyway, I do mastermind this group. Uh-oh. I just smacked the hell out of my green screen. And together we are learning what it is to be a man. And I even have cisgender men in there who are also learning with me, or with us. And they, we know who they are, but nobody else knows who they are. The admins of the group are very particular, very careful not to say anything about who these men are. It's one of the requirements to be in there, but it isn't a requirement for all the people in there to know where everybody's coming from. What's important is that we learn about manhood and give up this individuality goddamn thing that lets people splinter themselves off in 1,000 different directions and then say that that's okay for you to be splintered like that. Nah. To become a mature human being is to pick directions, own those directions, and then head in those directions. Otherwise, what are you? Where are you heading? What are you doing except hanging around the fucking internet, reacting to everything, overreacting to everything? What is it you're really doing? What is your purpose? What are you here to accomplish? Where are you making a difference in your community versus wanting the community to make a difference for you? How selfish and self-centered are you? These are just things for people to think about. I'm sorry I don't get to see Michael Harriot. That is one strong fucking man. People took pot shots at him every week, and he had this thing that he did. I don't know if it was the end of every week or the end of the month, where it was like a mailbag, and he would clap back something or another, and he would take some of the articles that he wrote and the responses that people had and put them on blast. He didn't put their name on blast, but he put what they said on blast, and then he would clap back against it and say, And there's these white trolls that are around the root all the time that are always saying the stupidest fucking things. And they have no shame. They don't care how ignorant they are. They don't care how stupid they sound. They don't care how much they're trying to disrupt what's going on over on that publication. That is a black publication. Why are they there? Trying to be heard. There's one thing that white people need to understand in this country. It is time for y'all to start listening. You want any understanding of what it is to be a BIPOC? Stop trying to tell us what it is and listen to what we're saying to you and take it seriously. If there's anything I can't stand worse is a white person trying to explain racism to me like they know. How do they know what it is when they are the oppressors? They are the colonizers. Like the woman in Black Panther said. They don't know racism. They know it theoretically through books, but they don't know it experientially, and they don't feel like listening to us. So I'm seeing this in the black community, and I'm also seeing it in the trans community, because there's a lot of people that won't listen to us with that. You know, I have a dear friend that every time I talk about issues about being trans and stuff like that, her tendency is to get me to want to accept where they're at versus them accepting where I'm at. Because I'm still getting misgendered by family members and all sorts of things. And I'm like, now when is it going to be their turn to move and change and grow? You are never, ever too old to move and change and grow. I've seen it live. I've seen it in Alcoholics Anonymous. I saw it around Landmark. I've seen it in a lot of different places. Is yes, you can teach old dog new tricks. Sure can. But they have to have the will to do it. They'd have to have the will to want to accept you as for who you say you are to them. Because I do an awful lot of educating and correcting family members. But I get tired of that. And if that lady was in my position, she would understand how tiring it is. Because it's not just happening to the person I'm talking about at the time. It's also happening to that person and 5 others in the same week. Gets tiring. I want to educate everybody. I want people to be motivated to educate themselves. Just like we want white people to do for us, for black people. And if they don't want to do that, then we have to educate them. So do you see the dilemma? They don't want to be educated at all anyway. So we come up and try to educate them. What do? Ignore us. Same thing about being trans. They could choose to ignore what we tell them. And then where does that leave us? Because every time somebody misgenders me, it feels like somebody zapped me with a stun gun. And that gets tiring. It's energy draining to think, oh God, you know, how many times will this man call me hun? Hun? He's not gay. Why is he calling me honey? Or the, you know, short version of hun. You know why? He's misgendering me. In his head, I'm still a woman. No, I'm not. That's why I was trapped for so goddamn long, not knowing who I was, because so many people, that's what they saw. And before I understood it and could fight back and say, no, that's not what I am, I had to deal with that all of my life. 58 years, and still dealing with it at the age of 64. How tiring would it be if you ran into this every week for 6 years, 6+ years? How tiring would that be? Anyway, it's a long video, and I'm going to really give it some thought to going live one day and see what happens. It's going to be difficult with this. I'm going to have to do it with some kind of a green screen behind me. I'm going to have to figure out the technology of it, which means I get to read and follow directions and watch some videos on how to be able to do that with my current equipment. That's going to be fun, huh? Anyway, so everybody have a blessed week. Again, Happy New Year. I hope you have goals in 2022 that you want to achieve and you achieve them. It takes a lot of courage to step out there on faith and just let it rip and make mistakes and fail and then learn from them and get up and try again. Go another direction. For now, I just want to put out that the crabs need to get out the barrel and the peas need to get out the pot. You have a good week. Pollinator out.